My main job at the Sea Around Us is as one of its senior scientists. I oversee many of the research projects that are undertaken by the Sea Around Us. In addition, I also have an administrative role at present as executive director, where I deal with the administration and the high-level policy issues of the project itself. But in terms of the research, I basically oversee many of the research initiatives that we do. And one of the main projects over the last decade that I was leading together with Daniel was the catch reconstructions, which was a global project where we estimated unreported fisheries catches for every country in the world in a systematic manner, combined that with the reported catch data to derive a more comprehensive whole issue picture for fisheries around the world. Now we have a real interesting time coming up because we finished the initial phase of the catch reconstruction, which was a massive project and led to a lot of publicity and a lot of papers, and the Global Atlas of Marine Fisheries, a book project with Ireland Press. Now a new phase of the Sea Around Us is starting. And as part of that, we're actually expanding. We're starting a partnership with the University of Western Australia in Perth, Australia, who has appointed me as Professor of Marine Conservation in Perth. One of my main tasks in Perth will be that I will build a Sea Around Us Indian Ocean node, which will focus primarily on the Indian Ocean issue in addition to continue to push the global issue of the Sea Around Us. Now, you may ask, why the Indian Ocean? Well, first of all, Perth, and especially the University of Western Australia, is located on the Indian Ocean. And the University of Western Australia is one of the primary and largest universities on the west coast of Australia, and therefore has a strong Indian Ocean focus. However, Sea Around Us itself is also interested in the Indian Ocean because it is one of the three biggest ocean systems in the world, and it also has a very large impact on the populations around the Indian Ocean. About 30% of the world population lives in the Indian Ocean rim countries. I just think of India, the populations there, think of Myanmar, think of East Africa, and so on. So it is also an area that has very important fisheries, including tuna fisheries, but especially a lot of small-scale coastal fisheries in the developing countries. So it is a really hotbed of very important fisheries research, and I will be driving a lot of the initiatives for the Indian Ocean, while continuing the collaboration with the team here at UBC, because it's a partnership between UBC and the University of Western Australia. Some of the main issues that the Indian Ocean is facing have to do with development status of individual countries, and that is particularly in East Africa and also in the Indian subcontinent, and it deals with small-scale fisheries. It is a massive population increase in East Africa. It is largely driven by population migrations from inland areas that are drying out or have less livelihood opportunities to the coast, thereby increasing the number of small-scale fishers, while in places like India it is simply a massive population size that also drives a massive number of small-scale fishing. And it's the conflict between industrial fishing operations and small-scale coastal fishing operations that is very, very strong in many of these regions. And so this is one of the big topics to be addressed. The biggest challenge for our global work at the Sea Around Us is bringing the message across. On the one hand, as scientists, of course, we write scientific papers. Now, most scientific papers are only read by a small number of other scientists. So you're actually talking to your own community. And in global fisheries, just like in many environmental and conservation issues, the message has to go to the general population, because it is the people of the world, everyone in the world, that is a stakeholder in this. You have to remember that while a large part of the world ocean is in what is called the exclusive economic zones of countries, there's also the high seas, which is not owned by anyone because it is owned by everyone. However, even within countries' own water, domestic waters, the fish in these waters are actually owned by the people of those countries. So therefore everyone is actually a stakeholder in this, and therefore everyone needs to have better information. And in today's world of alternative fact, I think it's particularly important that we actually try to bring across fact-based knowledge in a clear and concise manner that is understandable and accessible to the general population. And I view that as an ongoing challenge for us scientists. We need to be able to talk to everyone. By training, I'm a marine biologist with a tropical coral reef background. After I finished my PhD and my postdoc, I spent some time teaching at my alma mater at James Cook University. As part of being involved in teaching this course, I also heard about someone called Daniel Foley. And then thankfully Daniel actually visited while I was teaching, while I was assisting in the teaching of the course. And I was immediately impressed by his vision, by his view of the world, and by his intensity of doing good science and interesting science. At that time, towards the end of my first postdoc in Australia, I also realized that while it's interesting to know about individual animals, I wanted to take a step back. I wanted to know the bigger picture. I was more interested in global issues, in really large picture questions. I found that Daniel had moved from the Philippines to UBC here in Canada, and that he was starting a global project on marine fisheries. I came here as a postdoc, and my main purpose was those two things: interest in the big picture and the opportunity to work with Daniel Foley. And I've been here ever since. It's like over 17 years now. Looking to the future, the thing that we would like to do with the sea around us, we want to continue being a data provider in global fisheries for anyone that wants to use this data, be they scientists, be they NGOs who have to become major drivers for the stakeholders of the general population in terms of policy and changing the way we operate. And some of the things that we would like to do, besides continuing providing all these data, is we want to expand it. We want to add new data products to it, including fishing efforts data. We want to provide data by fishing gear, catches by fishing gear. We want to increase our economic data. And at some point, what we would really like to do is get into the topic of stock assessment. However, most traditional stock assessment approaches are very challenging, both in terms of cost and in technical expertise. And that is why most places in the world, most countries in the world, cannot afford these traditional stock assessments, no matter how good they are. And so we need to find or need to use alternative methods that approximate or are the results of traditional stock assessment as much as possible. And there are methods that have been developed over the last few years that can be used and that match the data that we have. And that is what we would like to provide, so that in the end, we will have a product where for every country in the world, for the main species and the main fisheries, these countries can actually access basic information about the status of their stock over the last 60 odd years.